helps. I'm not hearing that as a direct source. I think I'm hearing it through your speakers.
guys, how are you doing? Hope you're all well. Hi fraggers. I'm just doing some something. I'm doing what I should have been doing before I came on here. Because we've got a guest on today. We do. We've got a guest. We've got a guest today. Hi, Madda. Yeah, let me just put my microphone up a bit. Yeah, we've got M Series on. Harrison J. To give us a bit of feedback. Hi, the stupid experts. How are you doing? Hi there. Hello, everyone. Now, we're doing something a bit different. So it might work. It might not work. I think it's going to work. It just requires a little bit of tweaking, maybe. But yeah, I'm just doing the thing that I should have been doing before I started. So bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. We've got 6 tracks on today. Oh, this phone needs replacing. What phone should I get next? Now, I used to have an Apple phone years ago, and I do like Apple for some things. iPhones, like especially like the camera. The cameras. Don't get an iPhone, says Richie. Galaxy S22. Yeah, I probably will end up getting a Samsung. Hi, Cavelia. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Jacka. Here for the tweaking. That's what we like to hear. So, yeah. Send. And then the other one I need to do is my Amber D fan page. Avoiding the thirsty inbox of doom. Pixel 7 Pro. What are they like then? Huh? So yeah, we've got Martin on today, helping me, you, us, all of us. Pure Android as it's Google. Yeah, well, do you know what? I have a bit of a worry about getting a Google phone. You know, I do worry about, like, what was that thing? There was. Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about it on here. I don't want to discuss that. Probably a Samsung, I reckon. Okay, I've done the thing. Hi, Dean. Dean's got a track on today. So if you've got a track on today and you've been told about that, then whoop-de-doo for you, because we have got the amazing, the rather wonderful Martin M Series on today. I'm just getting all my things set up, which I should have set up earlier. And I've nearly done it. Let me just resize that and put that there. And then I need my chat so I can see what you guys are moaning about. So, oh my God. God, you lot. You're just so drama. No. Don't do that. Oh. Okay. That's there. Okay, I've done it. Okay, everyone, welcome. How long have we been live for? 11 minutes, and we haven't started yet. That's not bad for us. That's not too bad. Usually it carries on for about 40 minutes, so we're doing well. Winning, as they say in the biz. So, as I said, I have got an amazing co-producer, co-guest star person with me today. I'm going to bring them on now. I want you guys just to tell me if you can hear us both clearly. No trolling on this, because this is really important, because, you know, I worry about like audio stuff. So it needs to be perfect. Okay. So just tell me honestly, can you hear us both properly? All that kind of stuff. Here we go. We have the wonderful M-Series. Hello, mate.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, 1 2 1 2.
I think we can hear you. It sounds, yeah, Richie, you do troll me. And you know you do, so stop it. So, Martin is here today to go through your tracks with me. Martin, I've made a track with Martin called Bright Lights, which I absolutely adore. And you can hear us both fine. Brilliant. Richie, stop talking about the fact that you don't troll me and just help. Thank you. Martin has done a track with me called Bright Lights. Martin is also known as M-Series, and also someone who is very active in helping you guys, and being a part of this community when we do the demo drop week in, week out. And I like to celebrate that. And so I've got Martin on today to go through everything. How you doing, Martin?
Oh, good, thank you. Good. How are you, Amber? All right?
Yeah, all good. We've had a really good chat beforehand, haven't we? And we've finally figured out our
the world's to rights, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Exactly. Okay, so our levels seem to be fine. So also, do you want me to refer to you as Harrison J on this, or should we say Martin?
Just Martin. Yeah,
Martin. Okay, so Martin, aka
yeah.
Harrison J, is currently doing a music production seminar kind of a thing. Would you like to just tell us a bit about that, please, darling?
Yeah, so I put a post out on my page, and I'll reshare it after. But it's in January, the last Saturday of January. So I've tried to pitch it right to get past Christmas, and that people have been paid in January, etc. Relatively inexpensive, so it's 40 quid. Either deposit up to a certain date or just pay me the full whack. But effectively, it's a day in a conference hall for about 50 people. I've got spaces for, but it's just a chance for people to come down, bring their laptops, and I'll go through with my knowledge, just from beginner to cover all of that basics of doors, predominantly Ableton, but it'll work in other ones, I'm sure you understand. But really just how to lay a track, MIDI, audio, possibly how I build a track, welcome feedback from other people, how they build one, talk about probably pitching to labels. I've had a little bit more, and I'm quite modest, so I don't want to come across bad, but a little bit more commercial success as well. So how that went into house music and stuff like that.
Amazing.
Trying to get some special guests in and things like that as well, sort of singers that I've worked with that you'd all know from the charts and things. So that's a work in progress, but really just gives a relatively inexpensive way for everyone to get together, network, get feedback on their own tracks, and just learn to start producing, really. Yeah.
Are you doing this in person then? Is it not like an online thing? It's actually...
No, it's an in-person thing. So I'm really, it's an in-person. So, you know, it's in Corby, which is sort of Northamptonshire. So
Northamptonshire, okay, cool.
Relatively in the middle, a couple of hours away from most people.
Yeah, it's not that far. Are you in Corby then?
I'm just past Corby, a little town called Stamford.
Oh, really? So, I didn't know. I used to live in Kettering, so it's not too far away.
Oh, okay, so that's about 40 minutes from me.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So, yeah, if anyone's interested in that, we'll get some details put up within the show at the end of the show as well. Or, of course, you can just get in contact with Martin, a.k.a. Harrison J, as well. Really, really, I would say, like, for 40 quid, it sounds like you're getting a lot for your money on that. So, Rennie says that he's going to start walking now. Yay! Brilliant. Cool. Okay, so Jew, welcome in as well. I need to put up my little alert screen, which is over here. Oh, 2 years of doing this show, I think, and I've still not got myself any working, like, I've got things working, but not streamlined. I think the whole show is just an expression of my now knowing that I've got ADHD. Like, I think that that's kind of like very prevalent in the way that this show gets run. But there you go. Okay, so the first, I'm just going to put that down because I look very bright today. That's better. Okay, so the very first track that we're going to play is by Jamie Dinsdale. So Martin, if you get on your headphones and then mute your microphone, that's what we're going to do this time. Okay, cool. So here we go. So I'm going to finish it there. It actually goes on for quite a while, this one. This is 7 minutes and 57 seconds long. And that was Jamie Dinsdale and Evil. So yeah, like I've just mentioned there, like I quite like that. I mean, I don't really know a lot about making D&B. However, I do know that, you know, it's obviously more prominent for, you know, like the snare is the kind of like the main element around that, and the kick's probably not the most important aspect of that. It all kind of like goes around that snare and that beat, but I would possibly hazard a guess that 8 minutes is probably long. I mean, I don't know, but personally, I think when I played Neurofunk and D&B, it's probably a lot shorter than that. Or that could just be modern stuff. I did like this. It seemed quite low in volume, so maybe this is a pre-master as well. But yeah, it is quite long. Welcome into Drake Little as well. Hi, David Hart. I liked the arrangement, but then I felt that sometimes there wasn't really much evolving each time. We had a kind of like a small break and then we moved on to the next bit. It seemed to be repeating a lot. So maybe this could be whittled down, which is a good problem to have, really, because it seems like you have the right elements there. And this is just a case of shortening it. Martin, what's your thoughts on it?
I really like it, actually. So the production's really good, really clean. I think someone says really clean. And it's quite, although it's not that style, with the noise is very Skrillexy, which are thick and good. But I think you hit the nail on the head. There's where it had little mini breakdowns, if you can call it that. It just stopped. There's no effects to carry into that breakdown, which would really help. Just like a white noise or something might help if that fits the drum and bass sector. I'm not totally up on that. But there was one little snippet. The bass line changed very shortly for only a little while. I think you could do more with that, big builds and things like that. But production-wise, really, really good. I just think, it's the same sound all the way through, which is fine. But, maybe put a lead an octave higher when it kicks in later on to really emphasise the same pattern, but a dirty, distorted, higher bass sound. Stuff like that really helps work. But really liked it. Yeah, really good.
Cool. Yeah, all really good, solid advice there. F-Dex says, D&B usually has a ton of ambient at the start. Yeah. So the track might actually be 4 minutes of meat. Maybe, yeah, but in this case it wasn't. In this case, the track. Oh no. Okay, so the start area. Yeah, I mean it's still got a beat behind it. So I did actually bring it in around about 1 minute into, but yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is kind of like psytrance in that aspect, isn't it? A lot of psytrance will have a kind of an intro, if you will. So yeah, I mean, as long as it's still building and it's still interesting, I don't see any reason why not to. I think, but from the angle of getting something signed to a specific label, sometimes labels can overlook a really good track, in like this one in this case, purely on the fact that it might not be the correct arrangement or what they perceive as being the correct arrangement. So yeah, but it's, again, we're always just giving feedback from our opinions. It's not the be all and end all, and we could be wrong. Who knows? Right, the next track we've got is Danny Clark, and this is Machine. Here we go. Okay, so that is Danny Clark and Machine. A lot of chatter on what genre we think this is now. Kind of, right? The only times really that where genre is really important is obviously when we're trying to buy music. They're kind of best seen as signposts, aren't they? And the lines are so blurred these days, in a good way. In a good way, I feel. So I personally, for my terminology, I'd call that techno. That's my personal, what I put it under in my different genres that I play. I call it techno, because I'll have like hard techno, which is anything from like the BXR stuff all the way up to Shrans. I call this techno, so it's like the slower peak time, I guess you could call it as well, and it's got proggy elements to that as well. So Lizzie-Ann says, aren't you afraid of DMCA for the Terminator theme? Oh no, they're gonna get me. No, I'm a good girl, I am. No, but it's a good question. It is a good question. So when it comes to, and I'm going to get Martin to talk about this a bit as well, but when it comes to copyright, if something's been replayed, then you only, if this was going to be sold, there would only be what we call publishing on this. It wouldn't be a copyright issue. And the chances of that ever being a thing anyway is very, very slim to none. It really is. But regarding DMCA, no, because it's. I don't think that, because it's not the actual Terminator theme. I don't think it is anyway. I think it's maybe just the same chord, melodic progression or whatever. I'd say that wouldn't necessarily be an issue. And also when it comes to Twitch streaming, it will mute anything that it deems being possibly copyright protected. And yeah, it's not really an issue. Yeah, David Hart actually released a Terminator theme remix, which I actually play. You paid Brad royalty. There you go. You paid Brad royalties. Was that a typo? It's fun to stay at the DMCA. Yeah, it wouldn't be an issue. It wouldn't be an issue. And I think that we really need to demystify this area when it comes to live streaming a bit, because I think a lot of people have got very frightened about DMCA regulations, but at the end of the day, you are protected to a degree with that on sites such as Twitch, because Twitch will just mute anything that it deems to be thingamajig, copyright protected. So Martin, number one, can you just tell me what you think of this track, and then number two, if you'd just like to mention on your side of it what you think about, the whole copyright thing and how that plays into producers in this day and age. Thank you.
Of course. I liked it the more it went on, actually. I think the reason why, because again, I think it's just techno. I mean, you play a lot more than I am, but I do. Techno, for me, techno. I know there's different things, but definitely a techno track. And I think because techno tracks are quite minimal, the theming of that sound, and again, I'm not up on my Terminator, but it did sound like it was a sampled sound. I don't know. But I think there's a couple of things that I'd change if it was me, but not to the point where it loses what Danny's looking to go for. Be interesting if Danny's on. Just before, you can't even say it kicked in because it's not that kind of track, but the first time you heard the sample, it's a bit brash, bit in your face. Maybe you could filter that down with sort of an auto filter.
I
maybe
agree,
low.
yes.
And he did do that in the breakdown. It was sort of came in low and it came out, so maybe that might help. The ride worked really well, but the hi-hat, I think it's the wrong hi-hat. I think it's too harsh. I think it needs a more of a cleaner sound, which would really open it up. And just keep the tip is keep the kick separate, or the kicks, because I think they might be layered by the sounds of it. But glue the percussion and just get that ever so slightly pumping against the kick, and you'll have that kick stand out a lot more, which will drive the track a lot more. But the theming, instantly everyone's talking Terminator. I don't know if it is or not. It might be. If it is, and you've sampled it, I've just had a look while it was playing. There is MIDI files for, which goes on to your second question, I suppose. There's MIDI files. You could download that, put another synth over it, find the right sound. But because it's not a 4/4/4 sound, the theme tune by the sounds of it, it loses you, because you don't, what's catchy with it is knowing to expect it when it's going to kick in. But it lost me a little bit on trying to figure out in the breakdown where it's at. You can be clever where it goes do do do. My singing's awful, by the way. Where it goes do do do, you could go do 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 do, just to keep it. That, if you add that do 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 when it kicks in, I think it'd just give it that extra oomph.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point, because it did sound that it wasn't keeping to the 4/4 structure, and I do sometimes like that, especially in techno, where you get these kind of strange polyrhythms, and it throws you off. Especially important, like in a dark club, if something like this was playing and it throws you off where that first downbeat is. I kind of like that effect sometimes, but it is important to bring ourselves back to where that downbeat is. So like you said, having that kind of like gated do just to bring yourself back to, okay, it's kind of like giving you the indication of where the fill would be before the next.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's what, and with techno, because it's so minimal, people are expecting that's what's going to make them dance. So when it's coming into possibly kicking in, just even if you kept everything else the same, but just on the outro to when the kick's going to come back in, just worth a try. But I really liked, as it went on, as I say, I really liked it. And I think
I mean, exactly the same as you, Martin. I felt like the very first time the synth lead was introduced, it felt too abrasive, because I wasn't expecting it, and that would be so easily sorted. Like you said, auto filter, just having a high pass filter, sweeping that in, or a low pass filter. That would be very easily integratable, or even like bringing it in, introducing it in small sections before that first introduction of it. And like I loved the quality of that, like the kick and the question and answering, especially. Let me just refer back to this end bit here. Just as simple as just having that wah, wah. Like, that wasn't there in the first part of the track. Now, that's what we mean by building on an initial idea, that question answer, it's simple as that, because our ears will just get used to hearing something over and over again. And then the second you bring in something new like that, even this is why people go mental when the hi-hats happen in techno. It's like, way.
And the ride did that, when the ride kicked in, it was really,
yes.
Here we go. But I think if it is a sample, which I suspect it is a sample, because of the layers and things that were coming in. Not saying Danny couldn't, I keep looking at the name, Danny couldn't do the layers, but if you're using a sample, you're restricting yourself. I think if there's any way you don't even need the MIDI, just get a lead that's constant with the same key, just behind that drum, pump it, cut it up, put some distort, just little ear candy, because it's so minimal, you can get away with just random bits here and there. But if they call and response, I like it though, really like it.
I like it too, and that's really, really good advice as well. So yeah, thank you, my darling. Cool. Okay, so well done, Danny, and nice to see you branching out and trying different things, Danny, as well. Next up we have got Maddo, and this is Raindrops.
Waiting when I need you the most. I'm not complaining. just feeling lost. Will you be here now? If I give you a call, tell you I fall down like raindrops on the ground, like raindrops, like raindrops, like raindrops, like raindrops, like rain, like rain, like rain, like rain, like raindrops on the ground. Like rain. I'm lying here forgotten. You're always waiting when I need you the most. I'm not complaining, but I'm just feeling lost. Will you be here now? If I give you a call, tell you I fall down like raindrops on the ground. Like raindrops on the ground. Like raindrops, like raindrops, like raindrops, like raindrops, like rain, like rain, like rain, like rain, like raindrops on the ground. I'm lying here forgotten, but I'm glad to be alive. I know soon I will be broken. I'm falling down. I'm like raindrops on the ground.
Or gave you a sneaky peek of the next one there. Okay, so that was Raindrops by Maddo. I can't fault that. Like, for me, that is something that I would absolutely play in my hardcore set. So well produced. The element of surprise. I love the fact that you switch up the kick for that kind of like pitch bend, like really like short, kind of like side trancey kind of little sucky kick for a little bit. You know, like that always helps to switch up energy. Yeah, the ending was a bit abrupt because I think it's just like a clip version, so it just kind of like had an outro to it. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I like the fact that sometimes on the downbeat, you know, for the drop, I like how sometimes people won't bring in the kick for a little while and then whack it in probably on like bar 3 of 4, or even like on the second bar after the drop, because it kind of like gives this, is it the drop? I don't know. Oh, it is. Doosh. And it's the element of surprise, and good music rewards listening, as we know. Martin, what's your hot take on it?
Well, it's fucking quick, weren't it? Let's put it that way. You know. Yeah, I like it. I think it took me, because it's not the sort of style I play, which isn't a bad thing at all. Don't get me wrong. It just took me a while to understand the groove of the vocal in the breakdown. I was just trying to anticipate when it was going to kick in, because I think they're singing it on the downbeat. It's a different rhythm to what I'm used to, but works for this kind of music. Really loved. They've got like a pitch bendy thing in the vocal or in the breakdown, which worked really well. I like the switch up on the kicks. It's different because I think, again, in that style of music, it's But this is why tracks stand out. This is why you're not doing the norms. A couple of people, I think, that have said it sort of varies and stuff. And there's probably 2-3 different kicks in it. And if you really want to be critical, you could go, okay, we'll pick the best elements and just introduce them 2 bits. But we'll all go away going, it's that track that's got that great reverb on it, that vocal, and the kicks change, and it's memorable. And that's what makes tracks thingy, rather than it just being another, filler or something. So I think Drake said it, the kick comes through really well. The reverb on that lead's really good. If I could give any advice to it, would just focus on, the lead and just try and have the change of elements, but rather than 3 or 4, have 3, and just tidy it up. But by the sounds of it, that's probably what he's going to do. If it ends so abruptly anyway, he's probably going to revisit and just put an outro on it and stuff. But really liked it, yeah. Good, well produced.
Fantastic. I feel the same. But I didn't pick up on a lot of the things that you said in there. For me, I don't make this kind of music, but I do play some of it. So I could just see myself definitely playing that. And I've not heard that vocal before, so I don't know about. I don't have any preconceptions of when the downbeat is for that vocal. Have you heard that vocal before?
I suspect it's it'd be great if it was recorded fresh for the track, because I know that sort of style they do get a lot of singers in, but I've never heard it. So if it's a sample, they've done a good job. It just took me a while because I'm so used to the house stuff of where it fitted into the groove, because you could sing along to it. And also it didn't kick in the kick where you'd expect him to kick in. There was another 4 beats before he kicked it in, which again I think said
isn't it interesting?
That style, isn't it? It's that style, isn't it?
Isn't it interesting how I loved that about it and you found that confusing, because it really is about personal taste and being exposed to that style. I mean, it took me quite a while to really appreciate quite a few genres of music, and it wasn't until I started immersing myself in them that I actually got it. And I think people could say that about our love for hard house as well. Like, some people could listen to it and be like, that's just noise. Or Schranz, especially Schranz is a very eclectic or specific taste, and there is a fine line between it not being musical anymore and going too far the other way. But yeah, I remember years ago when people first started dropping the on the drop just after the breakdown and then onto the drop, the cymbal crash that denotes the first beat of the first bar. When people started to put the cymbal crash on the second beat of the first bar, and I remember DJs losing their minds over this. They were like, no, that's wrong. That's right. And I'm like, yeah, but it's interesting. Like it takes you out of the expectation, doesn't it, mine?
And I think I need to stress, it wasn't confusing me as in when it was going to kick in. It's that style. It's just, I'm so used to it kicking in normally. But again, that's what makes track stands out. And I think if you're really into that scene, there probably is that silence that you're waiting for, and then everyone loses their shit, don't they, when it kicks in, But
isn't it interesting how the element of silence is just as important as the sound?
Agreed.
It really is.
It was really good. I think that vocal is probably sung for that track. That's what I think, anyway.
Cool, amazing. Thank you very much for that. Next up, we've got Narc, and this is Candyland. Can I just say a big hello to everyone who's just joined us? Matt Handy's in the room as well, who sells lots of amazing vinyl. If anyone's interested in buying lots of vinyl, if you're not, what's wrong with you? Big hello to Kingspan and Jacob as well. And yeah, let's get on and listen to the next tune. So this is Narc and Candyland. Okay, that was Narc in Candyland. So for me personally, I liked this track. I thought it was quite well produced. It sounded slightly disjointed, if I'm honest, and this is probably personal opinion because of my background as being classically trained. I have a real problem with samples that I feel aren't tuned to the root note. And I know this about me, and I know that sometimes in some genres, in some instances, that dissonance actually adds to the track. But for me personally, it would probably stop me from wanting to play this track purely from the standpoint of a couple of those one shots weren't in a harmonic of the root note. But I want to stress that I am aware that could just be because of my discipline. Okay, so what about you, Martin? What do you think of that?
So, yeah, I think mirroring what you're saying. So, first of all, the vibes I got, and I don't know if anyone else thought this, but when it first started, remember the old Fever record label where the kicks were so clean. Fever Records, like the kick. Think it could be a bit beefier. I think a couple of people mentioned it. Like the little echoes and the reverbs, it's really subtle. It looks like there's a lot of work that's gone into them. So I think that
yes, I agree.
Doing there, but very clear that it's just out of key all the way through the track. And I think there's samples in. Could be right. They just need pitching. So my advice would be to transform this track completely, where you've got that pranksters-esque, you know, the rhythm rebel, where they have the samples. You've got that Prodigy style break, haven't you, where people are like, where are the money from? Play that, loop it, and just build the bass line under that, so you know that the root of the bass is going to be in tune with that. Because I would argue now, if you put that bass over that, it's a different key altogether. So when it kicks in, it's like, what's going on? And you don't want that. You want, this is the payoff. This is the payoff from what I wanted. So I would loop the break where you've got that sample by the sound of it. I think it's very complex. So either Narc's absolutely amazing, which I'm sure he is, and it's a good track, or it's possibly got some samples in there as well. Layer the bass line over the top of it, change the key, because I think the bass probably by the sound of it needs to be lower. And then once you've got that, every other element in the whole track, put that over that breakdown as well, just so you know everything's in key, and then remove it all back to where it was, and it will flow nicely.
That is a really, really good way of condensing, making sure everything in the whole track will be in the harmonic of the root note. Now, if that's something, because I know a lot of producers kind of do skip the music theory aspect of being a producer, because it can be very daunting. But is there any advice that you can give on, like, I mean, you've just done a really good job there. Like, for, you know, that is actually a foolproof way of using your ears. Is there anything that you use? Do you use any charts or anything like that? Or
So, well, yeah. So, no, if I'm on it, I do. So, Ableton, I'm an Ableton user. So, Ableton has got, luckily, it's got, and I think FL might have this and other things. It's got like the scale function within the piano roll. So, but the best advice I can do to get the key of any track, people use tuners and that sort of stuff, is I would just play the part of the track that if you're sampling it or you've made, you know, normally it's around samples, because you've made it yourself, you'll see what keys you put your piano roll in. So if it's a sample, just loop the sample, get it timed right, and then just get the shittiest noise you can find on silent or something like that, really high up in the keyboard. Because what a lot of people do is when they try and work on bass lines, they're playing it in, trying to get it as low as it would be played. Put it 7 octaves up, so it's like a stupidly harsh noise, and just play it in the keyboard. Once you've got that sitting right, then put it in the piano roll, and then you can see what root note the key's in and work everything else around that, and then just lower it back down again.
Yeah, that's really, really good point. Like, a lot of sub noises can actually sound like they're in key, and
Correct.
Vice versa when you when you're in those sub
yeah.
levels. But yeah, and then you suddenly look at it and you're like, hang on, that doesn't look right. And then you knock it up a couple of octaves and you're like, oh my God, that's like, it was, for me, when I do it, it's usually one semitone out either way. And I'm like, oh.
I suspect what might have happened here with Narc is that there's some samples that have driven his decision making. I think it's samples, and maybe they've not been keyed or transposed down a few octaves or something. And I think it's really like that sound, really like that Hoover, and that's probably driven that. I'll put it in because it's not in the main breakdown. When really, this is a prime example of. I think it could be a really good track. It's just there's some key issues. Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I'm really, really glad that Narc has sent this in. That's some really, really good advice. Martin Easton has also put there's some really cool features in Cubase 12 now with audio analysis to MIDI and chord assistant plus Snap 2. That's cool. Like there are some. I'm sure you can get plugins like this for all of the DAWs now. Ones that will give you like even like a key to a sample or whatever. You just stick it on the channel. But sometimes I would air some caution to people using them, because if the sample's really short, sometimes it can give you a false result on what the key of it is, and that can sometimes. Pardon?
I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to overspeak.
No, it's fine. That was all I was going to say, really. It's just
I agree, and I think, how can I put it? I've got to be honest. I think there's so much software and plugins out there. All I can say is ignore all of that. Don't underestimate the fact that most of the time, unless you're doing big piano riffs and things like that, we're talking about just the bass line being in key. So you don't need any software for that. Just don't underestimate cheating, not knowing what your root note is.
Yes.
You can put loads of tuners on it and stuff like, what key's this? Best thing is to do is either Google it and it'll tell you, because that's not cheating, because that's what you do. Or if you want to start adding stuff to it, you've got to know the software won't always be clear, because if you've got more than one note in there, it'll be a bit off. Just don't underestimate the fact that you just need to get the root. And this is what note means. Just get that root note right, and you'll instantly see a difference, and everything else will stand out, and then you'll know what you need to pitch down or up.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I think we call it a root note as well, because the root, that is your foundations. That is where everything else all the decision making, as you say, will take place around that. And like you say, it will take this track from being, it is an exciting track. There are a lot of great things happening in there. And now just to fine tune, literally, all of these ideas. Amazing advice. Cool. Okay, next up we have got Dean Richardson has done a remix of Coming Up. I don't know what that means. I don't know why they called it Coming Up, but they have, and it's by Andy Farley and James Lawson. This is a Dean Richardson remix. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm coming up on that now.
Amazing. Andy Farley and James Lawson coming up. Dean Richardson remix. Before we get into this one, I just want to say a big hello to Sandra Bullitt. Thank you so much for rating us. How was your stream? Now, Sandra, for those of you who aren't following her yet, please go and give her a follow. She's been on this stream as well, on this show. She's also a music producer. She's amazing. She really is. And she did a great original track that we played a couple of weeks ago now, I think. Hi, Emily. Hi, everyone that came in on the raid. Welcome, guys. Great to have you here. She is a singer-songwriter. That's right. She's amazing. She really is. I love her to bits. I've known her for a really long time now. You're amazing. No, you. So yeah, you just caught us while we were listening to Dean Richardson's remix of "Coming Up" by Andy Farley. I was going to say Andrew Farley then. Andrew Farley and James Lawson. Now this for me, I haven't heard a hard house tune like this for a while. Like this is definitely one that stuck out for me now from 2022. It sounded so nice on my monitors. It sounded really clear. It sounded wide, but it wasn't lacking in texture. reverb on there, the ideas, the implementation of that. As Drake said there, it has that old feel. I don't think I know the original. And you know what? I don't think I want to, because I love this. I really do. And I mean that with every respect to Andy Farley and James Lawson, of course. But Dean Richardson, I really think you are standing on the shoulders of giants with this remix. It is amazing. Martin, what do you think?
I'll tell you when I can find my bloody mouse. Yeah, love it. Dean's really, really good. I like Dean's stuff. Yeah, thick, chunky. The only thing that frustrates me about Dean, and this is a good thing, it's a really good thing, is that I've only ever heard his tracks with remixes of other tracks. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's done loads of original stuff. I mean, I've sort of stepped away from the hard house thing, but he's so good that he just could, do more original stuff. Dean is what I'm saying. It's really, really good. And I think, it really clear on the fact how wide the sound was, how thick, the bass wasn't overcome with the lead sound and vice versa. You can tell it's a James Lawson track. I haven't heard the original either, Amber, but just the groove of the lead, you can tell it's a James Lawson. He had that style. But yeah, just, I'm not one to talk, because when I did Hard House, I sampled everything, didn't I? But then I started to try and get built or original. And I
think it's important that we do, because, especially in the beginning, it's really daunting, and it's very, it's about just finishing stuff, isn't it? And if we've already got the ideas there, I think a remix is a great way in. But do you feel then, in what you're saying there, do you think Dean is maybe hiding an aspect of himself that he could now really be ready?
I agree. And I think, it's controversial, because I know Hard House is, I mean, I could talk all day about music, that, Amber. I'll try not to, because you probably want to finish soon. But I think, Hard House, you've got to understand what you want. And this is a fantastic track. If I played Hard House still, I'd play it. I think it's best one I've heard in a long time. Really, really good. And he knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I just think, when Hard House was big, and I know things have moved on, it was, all the stuff we're hearing now is remixes of the old stuff 10, 15 years ago. And I just think, if you're good enough as a producer, which Dean is, he could have put a completely different lead in there. It kept everything the same, completely different lead, and there wouldn't be any different feedback to the one we're giving now, which is fantastic, love it, great bits.
That's
if anything, you've now put the stipulation of, am I going to be able to release it? Is it going to be a freebie because it's Andy Farley and James? And, you could have put a completely different lead on it, and it would still be as epic as it is now, because it's all about the drive and the, it's so thick, and it reminded me of the old school stuff. But just do some more original stuff, or do everything else from now on original more often, and you wouldn't have any less of a appreciation from people than you've got now. If he understands what I mean that in the best way, Dean.
Absolutely, yeah, and I do agree with you, Martin. I think that we get into our little safety ruts, don't we? Now, Dean said in the chat, I lose enthusiasm sometimes with originals. So do the odd bootleg from time to time, just to keep the mojo flowing again. Which
is fine, and I think, it's really tough, because I always look at it, and I shouldn't, from a, I really try and do fresh original house stuff, and it's not what this is about, and I get it. But I think, depending on Dean will only know what drives him and how far he wants to go. So if you're really driven and you want to be, producing full time and producing for other people, which I think he possibly does actually, it's important not to lose the fact that if you're then going, my weakness is I lose originality and things like that, then focus on that. The odd bootleg will really help, because you can get it out there. But if it was me, I'd revisit this track. I'd change the whole lead to something very similar, because I think it lends itself to that, and just release it yourself under his label. Is it Global Awakening, I think, or something? I might be completely at the wrong street, but that's what I would do.
I like that.
He's too good to just, keep remixing. I used to remix a lot of stuff. I mean, Plus One bloody nicked off, what's his name? Martin Solveig and that sort of stuff, So I did all of that, but it's so good and it's so well produced.
Exactly. Well,
it-
he's just put in the chat. I think I've done around 60 or 70 originals. So that sounds like you are doing them, Dean. So maybe it's just that you're not pushing those ones on us as much. And Dean's also said it's just a hobby. Well, hard houses anyway. Oh, well, so do you do any other genres than Dean? Because I think what Martin is saying here is you, and I think this anyway, that you are a really, really good producer and you don't want to just be a big fish in a small pond here. I actually would go as far to say that you're probably overlooked in, and this is controversial, but it is true. It's very hard in the hard house scene, you know, to get taken seriously or given recognition for what you are doing. And I do find that it's like flogging a dead horse in a lot of ways. Now, that's not to say that I don't love hard house. I do, but I'm being real. I do feel that sometimes it frustrates me because I know so many hard house producers who are really, really talented and they don't seem to get a look in. Maybe it's because the face doesn't fit or they're not attending the events or whatever it is. But I do feel that it might be a really good idea to now branch out, knowing that you're good enough, knowing because you had this feedback and you have feedback from a lot of places, you know, that it might be time for you to if you are feeling that you don't always get enthusiasm for doing your own original stuff with hard house, and bootlegs are kind of like the nice nostalgic safe ground for you. And like Martin said, it all depends on what you want from this. But if it was me, I would definitely be going into house and techno and just, you know, trying that out. What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, I've just looked at his comment. Hard house market's hit the floor at the moment for new material anyway. I think, you know, every track I've heard of Dean's been fantastic. And I think it was a Looking Good remix and things like that. So it's all love, you know, this is a great track as well. I just like to there's more potential. There's a bigger world out there, you know. And so if he's putting all your time and he's really, really good at this sort of stuff, and it'd be interesting if he does make other stuff, please comment, because he said, you know, hard house is a hobby anyway. You know, if it's just hard house as a hobby and that's all I do, then such a shame to just do a passive harder, you know, we'll focus on it. You know, he's probably making a little bit of money from his labels and things, which is great. But I'm all about originality. And I just think, you know, if anything's ever going to evolve or get bigger, because hard house will always be around, but then at the same time, you see the same chats of, oh, it's only a small scene. And think, why is it a small scene? I mean, I'm going off topic a little bit, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the harder
I agree.
If you recycle the old stuff, don't expect suddenly new people to discover it. You know, think about what's happening on the market. You know, you've got Patrick Topping and all that sort of stuff. They're playing faster and faster stuff.
Yes.
You know, there's some tracks now that are on Capital Dance that you hear and stuff like that. They're getting fast, just slightly faster, 135, 138.
Yeah.
This good doing this, and he does other stuff. Dabble in that, get some original sounds in there.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I'm saying. You know, use how good you are to develop, and you'll be surprised in a year, 6 months, how far you can come.
Absolutely, because you've already done the legwork in learning how your equipment works, how the software works, how your VSTs work. You've already done all that, so it's not. It can sometimes make us fearful because we can think it's like starting all over again, but it really isn't. It's just taking what you've already known and applying it slightly differently. But there is obviously there is a kind of mindset that you must come away from, because otherwise you just sound like if you went from hard house to house, for example, we have to ensure that, like, even as far as like maybe having completely different sample packs and a completely different sample archive there, because you can end up using things that sound like your hard house, but it's just now slowed down hard house. So, you know, it is a kind of like a shift there. But I agree. I think like the Patrick Toppings and like his label trick,
everything and all that sort of stuff, they're really starting to play a lot faster stuff. And I'm probably getting away from what Dean wants to make. He might not want to make it, but what I think, if it's hard house and he's making it, he's too good from what I heard of his tracks. And the only tracks I've heard are remixes. And if he's done original stuff, great. And his label's doing a lot better than mine ever did, and all that sort of stuff. You know, absolutely. I'm just passionate about not hearing the same stuff.
Yeah.
And this is such a good track. I think if you revisit it, put a different lead in there, release it yourself, it would do as equally as good as if it was as the remix. But at least then you've got an original bit of work that you can then say is yours and push a little bit further. That's all I'm saying.
No, I completely agree.
Love you, Dean.
Yeah, we do love you, mate. And it sounds like he's on that journey anyway, because he mentioned there about a tech house track that he put into he what's the word? Submitted to the demo drop a while ago. So yeah, it's options now, and what an exciting problem to have, really, isn't it?
I couldn't fault the production. I think he knows he's there. He's if he's not working with other people, he needs to get people in the studio with him and start.
That's a great idea.
Producing for people, because he's good enough.
That is a great idea. Okay, next up we've got Jackie Chan, and this is called Spicy.
Mate, you've got to try this. Yeah. What the hell is that? Just try it. Why is it spicy? Why is it spicy? You alright?
I'm the happiest and saddest I've ever been right this moment.
That's a spicy meatball!
There we go. That is Jackie Chan and Spicy. So something that I picked up about that, which I'm not sure if it is me or what I'm picking up here, but I feel like I felt like it might have been over distorted, or as someone else has put in the chat, it could be a low bit rate. And I sometimes find it difficult to ascertain the difference between the two. So putting that aside for one moment, because that can be quite an easy fix, what do I think about the track itself? I loved it. I didn't like it. I loved it. I thought it was really energetic. I like the sample in there, the little vocal. I like the intro. So, like, for me, putting the bit aside of the maybe it's been over distorted. I mean, I'm looking at the waveform here, and it looks pretty dynamic. So I don't think it's in the end result of like a mastering or limiting or anything. But I don't know. Is this something that you're picking up on, Martin, yourself, or what do you think?
Yeah. Granted, I'm listening just the way the audio is. I'm listening on my headphones through my phone, so it's probably not what you're hearing your end. But yeah, I think it might be in the production of it. Nothing that is unsortable, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really liked it as well. It's quirky. I like what they did when they sort of chopped the vocal up and had that running in the background on the second sort of half of the track. Worked really well. They sort of pitched it down, pitched it up and things. Quirky little track for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Not my style, but other than possibly, listening to a song needs to be thick and full, and then, that sort of track needs to be really driving. It was a little bit clippy, I suppose is the word, but nothing that, maybe gain staging or less distortion or whatever, however they've produced it, wouldn't take an hour to sort out. Job done, really. I
think they're quite a new producer because Jackie Chan's got 18 people following them, and the inspiration behind this track was attending my first festival, which gave me inspiration to this song. So like I'd say, like in the beginning, it is very, very easy to overdo it, isn't it?
Oh, I think it was a wee bit distorted. I've had a look at the mastering and it was slightly out. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you know where to sort it out now, Jack Shannon. That's amazing. That means that we've helped, and I'm so happy about that. But yeah, please keep this up, because honestly, if you are quite new to this, then that's a very, very mature sounding dance track, isn't it?
Yeah, very well. If that's one of his early things, and that's what drives it, isn't it? People have an experience and want to make a track on the back of it. Is it SpongeBob bloody sample or something? I don't know what it was.
I don't know, but I know a lot of people in the chat seem to know.
Yeah, I'm probably really out of touch. I'm getting old now, but no, it worked, and it was a feel-good track, wasn't it? It made you smile.
Like I always give tracks the feel-good test, and if it makes me start moving my body around like I'm having an epileptic fit, then it's definitely a goer, without a doubt. But yeah, some really, really good advice there, and I'm really glad that Jackie Chan, that you have been able to confirm that at your end by having a look at the mastering, and it was slightly out. And it's good when it's when it's something so fixable like that, as long as you've done enough save versions and stuff. It's a very, very easy fix, but it's also something that all of us go through as producers. We overdo it, or we put too much reverb on, or and this is the only way any of us are going to learn, guys, is by being brave enough to fail, being brave enough to make mistakes, and being able to then correct our course as producers to become better and better and better at what we do. So that is all of the tracks that we're playing today. I'd like to just reiterate what we spoke about a bit earlier, because Martin is doing some classes in person where you guys can go and take your laptop with you to where is it again? Is it in Northampton, isn't it? Do you want to tell us a bit in Corby? Yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit more about it again for people who didn't hear last time?
For anyone that didn't hear at the beginning, it's on the 28th of January. It's 40 quid, which relatively inexpensive. But really the layout of the day from about 10 till about 5 p.m. will be just beginner to intermediate. I'm predominantly an Ableton user, but I'm sure you can take up tips and notes for other doors if you're going back. But it's really, my understanding of, audio versus MIDI, little tips and tricks, gain staging, all little tips. When's a sample right? I've had a lot of people message me going, "Oh, I want to know how to beef my kicks up and stuff like that." All sorts of tips. And then I'm trying to, and I'm hoping there's going to be some, speakers on there for some singers that I work with that everyone would know. Again, in the afternoon, it's the chance to bring your laptop, plug it into I'll have my studio set up in the room, plug it in, collaborate, get some ideas, similar to this, Amber, actually, not taking away from what you're doing, but
no, it's all helpful for people. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and there'll be a free sample pack that I've started that everyone that attending will get to take away as well. It'll have a mixture of sort of the harder sounds and then more housey sounds because it caters for that. But no, it'd be generally a good day. There's a bar there as well, so you can have a drink. But just come down, just a chilled out ego at the front door kind of,
amazing
day, really. So you're welcome to come down, Amber, if you.
If I'm free, I would love to, because I always, every time we talk, I always learn something new off you. I really do. Even when, I think you've done 2 of these shows with me now, haven't you? Where we've had you on the live stream.
Yeah.
But even when you just sit in the chat, it's really, really helpful, because I know that I can trust what you're saying implicitly, because I have proof that you know what you're talking about. We've worked together. We've done a track together as well. And I just think that it's amazing now that we're in a position there where people can meet up either in person or online like this and share ideas, because that is so necessary for music to progress in a creative and productionally quality way, because you can't take any of this knowledge with us, and some of us will know something that someone else won't know, and a lot of the time we do kind of get people sometimes with best intentions can give you really, really kooky ideas, such as, don't use Ableton, it's a toy door, or you should only be using Pro Tools or Logic. And when any of you in the chat, when you ever hear anyone speaking in those kind of binary ways and very black and white, this is the right way, this is the wrong way, please take it with a pinch of salt, because this is about your journey, and people like Martin are here to help guide you, not tell you what to do. And you need to ascertain, who it is that you're gonna spend time listening to. It's really, really important that you choose those people wisely, like you choose your friends wisely.
I think so. And I think there's a comment there that made me laugh, and I think this is joking aside, this is what I'm trying to get past. You can tell when a track's made in Ableton. You can't. It's absolutely, you can't at all.
Thank you.
And that's the kind of thing I'm trying to get away from. I mean, I've seen not in these comments today, but in other streams and that sort of stuff, when maybe in your shows, Amber, where someone's given advice and they've come up with something like, you need to high pass filter that at 40 hertz and then drop down to then the high. And I'm like, well, how can you possibly know that unless you know what the rest of the mix is doing?
Exactly.
And it's breaking all of that down to go, look, let's just start from the basics and just understand how, because then if you start EQing, the slightest bit of difference then creates a different sound, and then that might become your sound. So it's all of that, everyone, I'm no expert, I'm no Skrillex Grammy Award winning, but I'd like to think that I've had releases on Hard House. I've been signed to most labels.
Yes.
I've been signed to a lot of house stuff. Got work with some bigger people, and I just love to share the knowledge. And I just see it in the close knit communities in certain scenes where there's so much, bollocks that
arrogance.
Arrogant. Not maybe even not that. I'm still trying to be a nice guy here. Maybe just sort of, one track minded of that's what they would do, and try, with the compressors and all that sort of stuff, and killing you with knowledge of you need to uphold the threshold to -1 and then an easy low release attack. Well, that would work if you had a certain lead or a certain drum sound. If that's not what you've got, that is going to squash the clap. It's all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's so many variables, and how one decision can actually make more problems than it would do solutions. Absolutely. And misinformation. Exactly, Martin Easton. Yep, you're right. This is the thing with me, Rennie in the chat there. was being sarcastic because we
Yeah, I
did
know.
have
Yeah, well, yeah.
we
it's
did
that-
have
but it-
someone who came into my gaming channel who was actually a trance producer, kind of like it's not someone that I'm really aware of, but you know that they were making themselves known to me in that kind of a way, and they said they use Cubase and Ableton as a toy door, and you know at that point when someone ever says that kind of thing to me, I switch off.
Yeah.
You know, and then he just said, trust me, I can always tell when a track's been made in Ableton. No, you can't.
You
can't.
you literally can't. And I just, you know, it's just passion. You know, I'm all about if you want to do something. The answer is maybe it's just driven internally from when I was doing it because I've learned what I know. You know, there'd be other people that have different ways of working, but for me to always pay other people to make my tracks for me without knowing how to do it myself and maybe investing a little bit of that money into doing it myself. That's the reward, that's the joy, and then you can really start to elaborate and learn. But it's not a quick thing, it's not a half-hour thing. And you know, if you didn't know music, you could go in with, I'll make it up now, you could go in with BK, pay him 400 quid and get a track. But you know what, for me, and I suppose this is what that course is designed at, other people like me, where's the reward in that? What am I getting? Have I had them full input what I want? Have I really learned anything? And, you know, I only have to do that 3 times. I'm 1,200 quid down when I could have bought Ableton. I could have bought a laptop. I could have bought loads of samples.
True.
And I could have started on my own, knowing that in a year's time, I could go on. But
You're right. You're right. When you put it into perspective like that, and the thing, like going back to this, I've just put your thing for people to follow as well. But guys, if you want to get in touch with Harrison J, aka Martin, please give him a follow and do get in touch with him about this event. Is it the 23rd of January?
28th of January.
28th of January. I mean, for 40 quid and you're doing it from 10 till 5. Like £40, and you're going to learn so much in that time, guys. You really will. You'll have things that you like we said before. There might be things that you're really confused on because you know, there might be some little holes in your knowledge, and you might know something. You know, it might be good in one area, but you know, you're only going to come out of that learning more. So if you guys want to get in touch with Martin, make sure you do. So if you can either whisper him. Or, of course, I'm just going to give you another shout out here.
Or drop me a message on Facebook. You might have to follow me to message me, but that's no bad thing, is it? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Get following and get messaging. But it really will be a, you know, I don't know how I've come across on here tonight, and I'm really passionate, I suppose, but I don't want to come across as a knobhead because I'm not.
You're not knobhead. You're not coming across as one. It's
more just, you know, look, that even if it's people that really are starting out, you know, it's not overkilling them with frequencies and stuff. It's literally, if you've got a kick drum, you know, on most cases, how do I make it stronger? I would argue it's the rest of the mix that's overpowered rather than your kick, because any producers on here, when you're going through a sample and you're like, that's the one I want, you've picked it for a reason, right? You've picked it for a reason. So if you then put it in and you put in a compressor, a distorter, a saturator on it, then a sausage fattener, and then an end of smile, it's not the same sample. No. And you're only doing that to try and mix it with the rest of your track. So it's all of that sort of stuff that I'll try and help with.
And I think that's such a good point as well, because a lot of if you're using sampled kicks as well, they've probably usually got compression on them, or they've had saturation.
Most have, most have always been normalised, and you'll see when you put it in,
exactly,
it's right to zero, so it's already had all the treatment.
It's already had all of that, and that's a really good thing to remember, because people are just adding more than you actually need, and then you're wondering why things are starting to sound flat. And I know you will have a no-nonsense approach to this. Someone's asked as well, will there be any live feeds or recording for the event?
I'd love to do, I'd love to do that, and I'd probably do a discounted, because if people I could do a live thing where people join in and see it. Yeah. But my technical know-how to pull that off is probably limited to the first. Maybe moving forward, I would.
Yeah, I think once you've done the first one, I do think though that you would quite easily be able to do something like using Zoom or Skype. If you want any advice on that, I will help you out with that.
I'll be messaging. I mean, I've tried before. It's just I only know what I know, and I think to set up a Zoom so it's even this. I'm glad you sorted this out because
well, this is what I do, baby.
Absolutely. But
this is where knowledge helps each other. You've got shit that I don't know, and I've got shit that you don't know, and this is what makes the world go round.
Yeah, I just love it, and I think I'm just all about originality and just doing it yourself. There's don't cut the corners, don't get frustrated that I'm going into the lesson now, but just chill out.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have fun with it, because otherwise you end up not wanting to do it. And that's something that I found myself slipping into sometimes, was I just wasn't having fun with it. I was putting far too much stress on myself for everything to be perfect all of the time, or straight away. And it just doesn't work like that. But if you just do it in incremental little stages, like the most I've ever learned has been just from asking questions to people who I know, I trust their advice, such as yourself. But yeah, that just leaves me to say thank you so much again, Martin, for being a part of this show.
No, thanks for having me.
I will get you on again at some point as well. I'm also going to get Drake is going to come on, as well. He'll be amazing to have on. So yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm going to raid us on over to DJ Mixie now. And Martin, if you do want to know anything about the live stream and stuff, just ask.
Oh, thanks so much. And
You're
thanks
welcome,
everyone.
my darling.
All right.
So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you again on Thursday. Bye.